So I've been working for a couple of years on something that may turn into a book. I sort of hope that it does, but I'm not sure. Which is on a really dry topic, but there's a particular reason why I'm interested in it. And the dry topic is sort of a cultural history of information. The starting point is that the information age is coming to an end, and in fact, I'd say it's really over. As a cultural thing, we'll continue to use information, but the notion that our age is characterized by information as opposed to, and then pick any of your, the network, the web, hyperlinks, any set of those. Information age is over in that regard. Information age is characterized culturally initially by movies that viewed the mainframe computer as a source of conformity and all the rest of it. This notion of information that obviously characterizes the information age, surprisingly, is a really difficult, squishy term. It's extremely hard to define. The one really crisp definition of it comes from the paper that started the whole thing off, that took this term information out of general usage and gave it a new, highly defined meaning. This is the Claude Shannon paper of 1948. But the definition that it gave to information was so abstract and technical that it didn't stick out. It didn't stick outside of information science. So the one place where that term is highly defined, it's not really what generally we're talking about when we talk about the information age. We're not talking about the sort of mathematical, probabilistic thing that Shannon had in mind. So we have this notion of information. It's very squishy. It goes through a whole bunch of disciplines, suddenly view themselves now as information, from genetics to communications theory to warfare, economics. Information really takes hold, even though the sense of what information is very squishy and badly defined. And it seems to me that the central issue, many great things about these changes, the information age, of course, but also some deeply disturbing ones that we've recognized right from the beginning, and it's basically that information is a formal abstraction from the stuff that it's information about. That the information in the computer age roughly has to do with building models of things, as we've seen in the economic crisis. That maybe isn't always such a great thing to do. It's about building models, and it's about using bits. And bits are the most abstract, formalized idea of what something is. And the more you look at what exactly a bit is, the clearer that becomes. The really brief way of putting this is that a bit is a measurement. Explicitly, it's a measurement of information. And what it measures is not width or height or color, the way normal measurements do. A bit is the ultimately abstracted measurement. It is simply a difference. And you get to specify what the difference is. And that's why bits, you can turn everything just about into bits, because you just notice a difference, whether it's in color or height or whatever property you care about. And you can get that represented now as bits and treated as information. And that's what's characteristic of the information age. But of course, that's a hugely abstracted notion, and you pay a price for that as well. One of the prices that you pay when you're building models, for example, is that models are very neat and clean and abstract, and that's their virtue. You can manipulate them and see what would happen, but they're essentially false, reduced versions. They're reductions of the complexity of the emergent world in which we live, the wildly crazy, noisy, unpredictable, contingent world in which we live. And so you pay a price both in the fact that models are, the larger they get, the less reliable they become. That's oversimplified, but that's close enough, I think. But also in our sense of what it means to live in the world. And the ultimate, the sort of the apogee of this, the extension into the ridiculous, the reduction to the ridiculous, is in fact in the notion that we can model our consciousness in the silicon of a computer, in bits. You can do something about modeling the brain, right? You can do that. Whether you can do an accurate model if maybe the brain is too complex and emergent, I don't know. Let's just say that you can for the moment. Nevertheless, that model is a model. It's symbolic. Bits are symbolic. They're symbolic. They're simply differences, and you have to specify. You have to take them as a difference in this or that. Differences in the world, differences in color or shape or weight, are always differences in some real property that we happen to care about. That's why we're measuring it. Bits reduce them to the ultimate abstraction that are propertyless. They're essentially unlike the world. So to think that you can do a model of the brain, reduce it, represent it in bits, and let's say you can do it accurately, and then have that model, claim that that model is itself the real thing, is the height of absurdity. It should be the proof that this way of thinking has gone off the rails. It should not be, in my view, shouldn't be taken as the human future. In fact, it's a proof that that how formal we've gotten, how we've mistaken a formal symbolic representation for the real thing. And one of the ways of proving this is a bit is the difference. Bits get represented in many different media, any different medium you want. That's what it means to be abstracted, right? You can represent it, and you can do it in silicon. You can do it in terms of a transistor or voltage being above a certain level or below a certain level, which is what we do in computers. You can do it in punch cards with holes standing for an on or an off. You could do it with people facing left or right. I mean, anything you want. And so here we have a computer that models the brain. This is the hypothesis, models the brain, and the transistors, when they have electricity, we count them as on, and when they don't, when they have a lower threshold, go below the threshold, we count them as off. That's the way we take those transistors. If that's not we could just as easily reverse it entirely and say, you know what, from now on, we're going to count low voltage as an on instead of as an off, as a 1 instead of a 0. And then suddenly the model doesn't work anymore. It's got inverted. It's up to us. Bits are symbols, and because of that, the symbolic thing that we draw on paper or that we model in a computer or with people facing left and right cannot be the thing itself. And it's amazing to me that we've gotten so far in this hyper-intellectual, hyper-abstract view of the world that we can actually think that a model of something can be the thing, that the symbol can be the thing. Now, I'm certainly not the first person to notice this, but it's remarkable to me we've gotten this far.